The wind had a way of reminding Helen Carter of everything she had lost. It shaking the cracked window of her tiny basement apartment in Detroit, tapping against the glass like a quiet warning from life itself. Don't hope too much. Inside, the air was cold, the fridge was nearly empty, and the hum of silence pressed against her like a weight. Mom? A small voice broke the stillness. Elna looked over. Lily, her 7-year-old daughter, sat cross-legged on the worn couch, clutching her stuffed bunny. Yes, baby? Are we gonna be okay? Lily asked softly, eyes searching her mother's eyes, not for answers, but for reassurance. Helen's smile trembled, but she held it. Of course we are, she said. I promise. Lily nodded, trusting her. Children always believe the way adults wish they still could. That night, the last of Helen's hopes spilled out on the kitchen table as she counted what little money she had left. $5.27. Rent was overdue. The electricity was days from being cut off. The pain of life weighed on her like a storm she couldn't outrun. She picked up the last $5 bill and stared at it. Just one bus ride to a job interview tomorrow. One chance. One last shot. She whispered, Please, God. Just give me a breakthrough. By 8:45 p.m., she bundled Lily in a faded pink jacket. Where are we going? Lily asked. To get something for dinner. Like pizza? Lily's eyes lit up. Helen swallowed. Something better, she lied. They walked in the now calm wind to the small convenience store 2 blocks away. The wind bit at their faces. Hunger twisted their stomachs. Inside, Helen grabbed the smallest loaf of bread and a can of tomato soup. She stood in line, clutching the items, ready to part with her last few dollars. Then she saw him. An old man, his clothes torn. He stood at the cashier, holding a bottle of milk and nothing else. I thought I had enough, he muttered, patting his pockets in panic. The cashier rolled her eyes. Sir, I can't give this to you if you don't have $2.50. It's for my granddaughter, he whispered. People behind him sighed in annoyance. Someone scoffed. The line became angry, impatient. But the old man didn't move his hands, shaking, fear in his eyes. Helen looked at the bread and soup in her hands, then at her daughter, then at the old man. Lily tugged her sleeve. Mom? She whispered. He looks sad. Helen didn't think. She simply felt. I've got it, she said suddenly, stepping forward. The cashier looked at her. What? I'll pay for it. Add it to mine. She handed over her last $5. The old man stared at her like she was unreal. No. It's okay, Helen said softly. Take it. The cashier dropped the change into her hand. 27 cents. As the old man left, he paused, turned, and with shaky lips he asked, Why would you help me? Helen smiled and said, Because you needed it. He nodded slowly. His eyes glistened. Then he whispered words she'd remember forever. Kindness never dies. It always finds its way home. That night, Helen and Lily walked back home in the cold, windy night, with only a loaf of bread, a can of soup, and 27 cents. Helen cooked in silence. The tiny stove flickered weakly as the thin tomato soup simmered in a dented pot. Hunger had become a quiet routine in their home, felt but unspoken. Lily sat at the table tracing shapes on a book. There are moments when life doesn't break you with thunder. Sometimes it's just the slow drip of exhaustion that wears you down. And tonight, exhaustion lived in Helen's bones. But still she smiled at her daughter. Love is strange. Even when life gives you nothing, it still finds a way to make you give everything. They ate slowly, stretching every spoonful. Lily swung her feet under the chair and looked up. Mom? Yes, baby. Why did you help that man? Helen paused. Because I know what it feels like to have no one. She wanted to say, and I know how pain feels like, and kindness is the only thing that hasn't left me. Instead, she answered gently, Sometimes people just need someone to care, even a little. Lily nodded thoughtfully. I want to be kind too. Helen reached over and brushed a curl from Lily's forehead. You already are. For a moment, there was peace. Later that night, after Lily fell asleep, Helen sat awake alone. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of breeze outside. Bills were stacked on the table, final notices, overdue warnings. She rested her head in her hands. Somewhere between hope and despair, tears came, not loud, but silent. Her phone buzzed. A reminder. Job interview, bus station, 9:15 a.m. Her last chance. No money for the bus now. She closed her eyes painfully. She had traded her job chance for a stranger's milk, but she didn't regret it. She only wished life would give her one open door, just once. The next morning, before sunrise, a knock startled her awake. Who would come here this early? She wrapped her sweater around herself and opened the door carefully. No one was there, just the hallway. A brown envelope lying on the ground. Cautiously, she picked it up. No name, no writing, just placed there. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a note written on plain white, for your kindness. And beneath the note, inside the envelope was a stack of cash, more than she had held in years. Enough to pay rent, enough for food, enough to breathe again. Her hand flew to her mouth, her knees weakened. She looked around the hallway, but no one was there. Helen had never held that much money in her hands before. For a long moment, she just stared at it, unable to breathe. Was it a mistake? A trap? A blessing? Her mind raced, but her heart whispered a quiet truth. Kindness had returned, exactly as the old man had said it would. She paid the rent that morning, then bought groceries, real food, not just survival, fresh bread, eggs, milk for Lily. And for the first time in forever, Hope didn't feel like a stranger. With the remaining money, she still went to the job interview. She wore her cleanest shirt, though it was old, and she pulled her hair into a simple bun. No makeup, just quiet dignity. Lily hugged her before she left. Good luck, Mommy. Helen knelt. I don't know what happens next, she told her daughter softly, but I know everything will be all right. The reception area of Harrington and Cole Industries felt like a different world. Towering glass walls, silver elevators, people in expensive suits. Helen almost turned back, but a woman at the front desk noticed her. Smile warm, genuine. Interview? Helen nodded nervously. Yes. Helen Carter. The woman checked the list, then paused. Wait, you're Helen Carter? Yes. You're early. Mr. Harrington mentioned you might come. Mr. Harrington? I don't understand. But before she could ask, the elevator doors opened, and he stepped out. The old man from the store. But he wasn't wearing torn clothes anymore. He stood tall now, calm and confident, in a tailored black suit, clean, sharp, powerful. He smiled softly. His eyes were the same. Helen whispered, stunned. You! He walked toward her, voice warm. Miss Carter, I've been expecting you. Her heartbeat trembled. Nothing made sense. He had been poor, broken, lost, but he wasn't. He reached out a hand. My name is Jonathan Harrington, CEO of this company. Helen stared. Thousands of thoughts collided in her head. Her lips parted, but no words came. At the store, she finally said. The milk, the clothes. Why did you? Because, he said gently, I wanted to know if kindness still existed in this world. If people still cared, even when no one was watching. Helen swallowed hard. Her eyes burned. Jonathan continued, voice quiet with emotion. I went to buy her milk that night, pretending I'm poor and I don't have enough for the milk. People pushed past me, looked at me like I was trash. He paused. And then, you helped me with no expectation. No pride, just kindness. I never forgot that he looked at her deeply. Kindness reveals character, and character matters more to me than any resume. He handed her a folder. Inside, an offer. A full-time position, starting immediately. High salary, benefits, housing assistance, growth plan, stability. Helen covered her mouth. Tears spilled. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Jonathan said. And one more thing. He nodded toward the desk. The kind receptionist smiled, the only person who greeted Helen with dignity. I like people who remember kindness, Jonathan said. The receptionist? I started her career the same way he extended his hand again. Change your life, Miss Carter, and when you're able, pass it on. Helen took his hand, and with it, her second chance at life. 1 year later, sunset painted gold over a new beginning. Lily ran through the backyard of their small but beautiful home, laughing, healthy, happy, free. Helen stood with a quiet smile, watching her daughter. No more fear, no more hunger, no more broken nights. Jonathan came visiting. Helen welcomed him into their home. Jonathan joined Helen, watching Lily playing at the backyard. You built everything, he told her. Helen shook her head. No, you changed my life. He smiled. No, you changed mine. You reminded me what matters most. She looked at him. What's that? She asked. He gazed at the horizon. That success means nothing if you don't use it to lift someone else. The story doesn't end with money, or power, or luck. It ends and begins with kindness, because kindness is a seed, and when planted, it grows into legacy. And that is how a single mother, with nothing but a heart full of love and kindness, changed her life forever. If you like stories like this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more.